So welcome all. I'm Mr. JOHNMARK. I'll be taking you through money market. So I want us to discuss on the money market hedge. So it's under the international financial management, whereby it's one of the strategy that the company can use whenever there is foreign exchange that is involved, of which we have various strategies the company can use to hedge the foreign exchange. One is the swap. Number two, they can use the forward market, the future contracts. Also, they can use the options as well as the money market. And for the money market, as we had discussed earlier, we have the hedging strategy when you are hedging receipts, also hedging payments. So today I want us to focus on how to hedge the payment, though I shall do something also to do on receipt. Yeah, so whenever there is a foreign exchange that exists, that means there is a currency or two currencies. Wherever you have the home currency, you have the foreign currency. We had said that there are two types of quotes. There are two types of quote. One is what we call the direct quote. And then we have what we call indirect quote. Now, for the direct quote, this is where the foreign currency is the commodity. The foreign currency is the commodity. Now, for example, let's assume that we're in Kenya. So that means our functional currency is Kenyan shillings. And then you are given that 1 USD is equivalent to 135 Kenyan shillings. Now, this is what we call a direct quote. In that, you require 135 shillings to acquire 1 USD. So in this case, the foreign currency, which is the USD, becomes the commodity. So that's what we call a direct quote. Then for the indirect quote, this is where the home currency is the commodity. The home currency is the commodity. That's what we call an indirect quote. Now, for example, we're in Kenya. We are told that 1 Kenyan shillings is equivalent to 8.5 Rwandese franc. So in this case, you see the home currency is the commodity. In that, you require 8.5 Rwandese franc for you to get 1 unit of Kenyan shillings. So that's the difference between the direct and the indirect quote. That for the direct quote, the foreign currency becomes the commodity. And then for indirect quote, this is where the home currency is the one that is commodity. Another thing, also, I want to give you another concept, whereby, you see, for example, in this case, if you have that 1 USD is equals to 135 Kenyan shillings. So if you go to the bank, sometimes they'll be quoted in the ranges. That means buying and selling. For example, if you're given a rate like 1 USD is equivalent to, then you're given 135.43. These are Kenyan shillings, and 136.20. Now, if you're given a rate like that, like 1 USD is equivalent to 135.43 to 136.2. Now, what does that mean? Now, this is what it means. So, for the 2 Kenyan shillings amount we have here, one is the bid price, the other one is the ask price. How do you differentiate between the bid price and ask price? Now, the bid price is always the raw amount. This is what we call the bid price. And then the higher amount is what we call the ask price. What does it mean? This is what it means. For example, if you want to sell dollar to a bank, now the bank will buy the dollar at the lowest price. Now that raw price is what we call the bid price. So if you want to sell your dollar, so that means the bank will buy it at a lower price. But in case you wanted to buy the dollar, so what will happen? The bank will sell to you at the highest price so that they can make profit. So the bank will buy at a lower price and then they sell to you at a higher price. So the lower price is what we call the bid. The higher amount is what we call the ask price. So whenever you're given the exchange rate in ranges, that means from this to this. So the lower price is the bid price, the amount that the bank now they can borrow that currency, and then the higher price is the ask price. Good. So what are some of the steps followed in payment hedging? So I want us to look at hedging. payments. We had already done on hedging the receipts, hedging payments. If you're hedging the payment, these are the sum of the steps forward. Steps forward. Step number one, you borrow the amount in local currency. In short, you borrow local. So borrow the amount in local currency. Yeah, that means you borrow local. Then step number two, you convert the borrowed amount. Convert the borrowed amount, yeah, to home currency or to local currency at spot rate. And then step number three, in this case, you need to invest in the foreign currency. So you invest, also saying that number three, you deposit or you rent or you invest in foreign currency. Good. So those are the steps forward when you are hedging the payments. Now, a quick recap, how do we hedge receipts? So that when hedging receipts, you borrow foreign, you invest or deposit home. So you see that step number one, you borrow the amount in foreign currency. In foreign currency. That means you borrow foreign. That's when you are hedging the receipt. When you're the party or the company is the one that expected to receive the amount. And then step number two, when you borrow the amount in the foreign currency using the borrowing rate of that currency, then you convert the borrowed amount into home currency. Into home currency at spot rate. And then step number three, you deposit or rent or invest the amount in home deposit account. Home deposit account. So in this case, you're saying that when you're hedging receipts, so in this case, you borrow foreign, you invest home. You borrow foreign, you invest home, or you deposit home. But when you are hedging the payment, the process is the opposite. You borrow local, you borrow home, and then you invest foreign. So that's one of the key concepts when you are hedging. So that's the difference between when you are hedging the receipts and here when you are hedging the payments. Good. So I want us to do a question directive from the past paper. I want us to do a question from the past paper on hedging the payments. Can you open with me December 2022? December 2022, question 3B. December 2022, question 3B. December 2022, question 3B. We are doing from the CPA advanced level, that's advanced financial management, December 2022, question 3B. Hoping we are there. Good. So we are told that. So allow me to wrap this. So we are told that Rema Limited, a United Kingdom based firm. So that means this firm is based in UK. So that means, therefore, the UK, the pound, will be the home currency. So UK is home and they use pound. So that means pound is the home currency. Pound is the home currency. So you told that. Remember Limited, a United Kingdom based firm, bought goods from United States. So that means if we bought goods, so we expect to pay. So we are hedging the payment. So that's how we differentiate between when we're hedging the payment and when we're hedging the receipts. Because in this case, we bought the good. If we bought the goods, that means we expect to pay. So therefore, we are hedging the payment. So Remember Limited, a United Kingdom based firm, bought goods from the United States supplier and must pay $4 million in 3 months' time. So they expect to pay 4 million. So the amount in consideration in this case is 4 million USD. So that means the USD is our foreign currency. So USA, of which they are using the US dollar. Now this is the foreign currency. Now, since these are UK-based firms, therefore the pound will be the home currency. USA, they're using the United States dollar or USD, of which these were foreign currency. Now listen up here. Listen up here. So what are some of the steps forward? We have said that you borrow ROCO. You borrow ROCO. So ROCO is home. So home currency, here we borrow. Then you have said that number 3, you deposit or you rent or invest in foreign currency. Foreign currency is USD. So in USD, here we are saying that you invest. So here you deposit or rent or invest. Yeah, so you have said that when you're hedging the payment, you borrow ROCO, that is home currency, that's why you borrow. So here you use the borrowing rate, and then foreign, you deposit. Good. The company is considering 3 choices in order to hedge the transaction exposure and has collected the following information. So we have the annual interest rate and exchange rate currently available. Good. Now let's start with this. So we're given those rates. So we have the USD, we have the sterling. Now let's start with the borrow. So the pound is the home currency we borrow. So now give me the borrowing rate. Give me the borrowing rate in home currency. That is the pound. That is the pound. And remember, in this case, we expect to pay after 3 months. After 3 months. So therefore, you take the borrowing rate of the sterling pound for 3 months, of which in this case we have is 13.25%. But note that this is an annual rate. We expect to pay in 3 months. So you multiply by 3/12. I repeat again. We are borrowing in home currency, which is pound. So therefore, you use the borrowing rate of the pound, of which we have the borrowing rate of the pound is 13.25. Then we have said that you deposit or you rent or invest in the foreign currency. So foreign currency is USD. So for USD, you deposit or you rent or invest. So in that case, we have the deposited for USD, that's the foreign currency, in 3 months, of which in this case we have is 6%. But remember, the 6% is the annual rate, and you expect to pay in 3 months, so 3/12. So now compute that. Compute that. So here we get is 3.3125%. Here we have it 1.5%. So now that's the borrowing and the deposit rate for 3 months period. Good. And then after those interest rate, we also have other exchange rate, whereby you are given the exchange rate, dollars into is equals to £1. We have the spot, 1 month forward rate, a 3 month forward rate. Now, if you look at those rates, now there's something I want to mention here. For example, we have the spot rate, that's my key concern, and then we have a 3 month forward rate. Remember, the amount you are given is exchange rate dollars into £1. So these are the USD to £1. Of which the first one for spot rate you are given is 1.8625, 1.8635. For 3 months, we have it's 1.8445, And then we have 1.8460. So I've just taken the rate given, the spot rate, and 3-month rate. And then what we're given, these are the USDs, is equivalent to £1. USD is equivalent to £1. Now, what does it mean? Now, we said that the raw value is our bid price. And you see that bid is the minimum price. And then we have the maximum. The higher amount, this is what we call the ask price. This is what we call the ask price. So here now I want you to pay the attention. Pay attention. Now, how do you determine when to use bid, when to use ask? How do you determine when to use bid and when to use ask? So I have given you this concept here. Now, this one should be at your fingertips. First of all, you need to determine whether the quotes given here, are they direct quote or indirect quote? And you see that direct quote, this is where the home currency, sorry, the foreign currency is the commodity. That's what we call the direct quote, where the foreign currency is the commodity. Then indirect quote is where the home currency is the commodity. Now remember, this is a UK-based firm. If it's a UK-based firm, our home currency is the pound. Our home currency is the pound. And what we're given here is USD is equivalent to £1. So in this case, this pound is the home currency. Yeah, so pound is the home currency. And since pound is the home currency, which is the commodity, therefore this one is an indirect quote. That is the indirect quote. Remember, you see that indirect quote, this is where the foreign currency is the commodity. Sorry, the home currency is the commodity. And of which, in this case, our home currency is the pound, because this is a UK-based firm. Therefore, since it's the one that is commodity, these are US dollar to £1. Therefore, this one is an indirect quote. So therefore, do you use ask or bid? Now, this is what we use. Number one, what we are hedging the payment. We are hedging the payment, and then we have an indirect quote. So this is an indirect quote, and you are hedging the payment, so you are paying. So therefore, the price to use is the bid price. So kindly, this one needs to be at your fingertips. If it's the indirect quote, and maybe you are hedging the receipts. If you're hedging the receipts, we use ask price. If it's indirect quote and we're expecting to pay, we use the bid price. Also for the direct quote, in case it was a direct quote, and we are paying, we use the ask price. If it's a direct quote and we expect to receive, you use the bid price. But in this case, what we have is an indirect quote, and therefore we also pay. So therefore we use the bid price. The bid price is the minimum price. So hope you are somewhere. Good. Now the question is required. Determine the amount payable using the following methods. Amount payable using the following method. The first strategy is forward exchange contract. Forward exchange contract. Now for the forward exchange contract, this is why we use the forward rate, and these are the forward rate. A 3-month forward rate, and in this case we have said that we are using the bid price. So a 3-month rate, and you're using the bid price. Bid price is the raw price. So of which in that case is 1.8445 USD is equivalent to £1. That's what we're going to use. And then how much are we expecting to receive? Remember, the transaction cost was 4 million, so not received but to pay. We expected to pay 4 million USD. What about 4 million USD? How much will we pay in pounds? So can we compute that? You compute that. So just cross multiply. So it's 4 million. You multiply by 1. You divide by 1.8443. So how much is that? So in this case, I'm getting it's an amount of 21,68,609 pounds. Good. So that's the first part. Now the second part was the money market borrowing or lending. So number 2 is known as money market hedge. Now for money market hedge, you have to follow the 3 steps. You have to follow the 3 steps. That is, you borrow local, you convert the amount, the borrowed amount, into home currency at spot rate, and then from there you invest foreign. So the first step is saying that you borrow, you borrow the amount locally. And how do you determine the amount you need to borrow locally? That means, this means you determine the present value. This means you determine the present value of the foreign currency. Of the foreign currency using the deposit rate of that currency. So you borrow the amount local. Now this is what I mean. We are borrowing the amount local, and then we invest foreign. But you see, in this case, the amount in consideration is in USD. So what you'll do, if you need to borrow now, you are borrowing local, how much do you have to borrow? So you use the market, or you determine the present value of the foreign currency using the deposit of that currency. So, and how to determine the present value? Present value, you will take the future value, 1 plus r raised to power negative n. And in this case, our n will always be 1. N will always be 1 because we already converted the annual rate. We already converted the annual rate to a specific period. So this is what will happen. The future value, the amount you expect to pay is 4 million. But remember, this is the USD. This is the USD. You need to determine the present value. Now, the USD, this was the deposit rate, which is 1.5%. So 1 plus 0.015 raised to power negative n. And this negative n, we are saying it's 1. I repeat again. Remember, we want to invest locally. Sorry, we need to borrow locally. So when you're borrowing, this is the rate we will use. 3.312, and this is locally. So that means our home currency will be pounds. So for the pound currency is the one we will use 3.125. So here we are borrowing. Here we are borrowing locally. And since we are borrowing locally, but the amount we need to borrow, what you are given the amount we need to pay is in the foreign currency. That is the USD. So in case we want to determine how much do we need to borrow now? So to determine how much to borrow now, that's why determining the present value. So you take the 4 million, and remember this 4 million is USD. That's the amount we expect to pay. So that means when you're determining the present value, you determine the present value of the USD using their rate, and their rate is 1.5%, which was the same as the deposit rate. Good. So how much will you get? How much will you get? So in this case, the present value, you get an amount of that 940,887 USD. So if you are to borrow now, this is what you need to borrow. If you are to borrow now, this is the present value, is the amount you need to borrow, because the 4 million you expected to pay after 3 months. So if you are to borrow now, how much do you need to borrow? This is what you need to borrow. Then, if you determine the amount you need to borrow, the second step was you convert the borrowed amount into home currency at spot rate. So you convert the borrowed amount into home currency. The home currency is the pound at spot rate. At spot rate. So you convert the borrowed amount at spot rate. And now this is the spot rate. Remember, we are hedging the payment, and you're saying that it's an indirect quote. So therefore, we're using the bid price. Now here we have the spot rate, of which this is the bid price. Bid price we have is 1.8625 USD is equivalent to £1. What about this amount we have borrowed? So, but in this case, it's in foreign currency. So we won't convert them because of that we need to borrow locally. So an amount of that 940,887 USD. So if you convert them now into home currency, how much will we get? How much will we get? So just cross multiply. So in this case, you'll get an amount of 21,15,912 pounds. When that's it, now you invest foreign. So you deposit or you rent or you invest in the foreign currency. So you deposit or rent or invest in foreign currency, or in the foreign currency to maturity. So that means we need to invest that amount, and you're investing now, so that it matures after 3 months. So that means how much is the value after 3 months? So the future value, you take the present value 1 plus r raised to power n. Now this is what we're investing. This is what we're investing now. An amount of 21,15,912 1 plus r. Now, these amounts are in pounds. These amounts are in pounds. So for the pound, which is the home currency, this is the amount. So the rate for the pound is 3. So it will be 0.033125 raised to power 1. So this is the amount now you need to hold to maturity. So in short here, you hold the amount to maturity. You hold to maturity. You hold to maturity. So this is what now you invest now. And then since they are in pounds, you use the rate of the pound. So, and how much will it be? So at maturity, you'll get an amount of 21,86,002 pounds. That's what you get. Right. So lastly was making a leading payment. The bad strategy you have to adopt is leading payments. Now, leading payment, what does it mean? Leading, that means you don't have to wait for 3 months. That means you pay now. That's what we mean by leading payment. So that means, this means you pay the amount now. And that means if you're paying now, you are paying at spot. So therefore you use the spot rate. You use the spot rate. And this is the spot rate. And remember, we are using the bid price since it was in direct quote and you're making the payment. So we use the bid price. At spot rate, we have it's 1.8625 USD is equivalent to £1. Then how much are you expected to pay? You expected to pay an amount of 4 million USD. What about 4 million USD? So you just cross multiply. In that case, you'll get an amount of 2147. Yeah, 2147,615 pounds. Then you can comment. Now you can comment. So if you have to advise on a strategy, which strategy will you adopt? Which strategy will you adopt? So now here you have 3 options. One was the forward exchange rate. This is the money market. And here when you do leading payment. Yeah, leading payment. Since you're making the payment, as a company, you expect The best option is where you'll be paying the minimum amount. The best option is where you'll be paying the minimum amount. 2147, 2186, 2168. So the minimum amount is leading payment. So leading strategy will be the best strategy. Will be the best strategy. Good. So I hope you have some concept there. I can still try another illustration, but kindly make sure you subscribe to this channel so that you can be getting such insightful materials. Yeah, kindly subscribe, turn on the notification button. Also, you can share with your other friends who are taking CPA. This one is only for academic purposes. It's only for the academic purposes. So my objective is to help as many students as possible to get this concept with ease. So I can also do another illustration. Let's do November 2017, question 5B. November 2017, question 5B. Hope you have taken a screenshot so that we do another illustration. So we do another illustration. November 2017, question 5B. And then when we have a direct, so pay receipt. So here we have said is ask a bit. Good. Good. So we have done that. Let's start with part A of the question, question 5A. In relation to financial management in global context, explain the following theories. Okay, yeah, explain how the following theories could be used to forecast the exchange rate. Yeah, remember we have discussed about 3 theories on how to determine the foreign exchange rate. And one was the purchasing power parity, PPP, of which is that under PPP, the key consideration is the inflation. And even you explain on how you can use the inflation to forecast the exchange rate, whereby you see that the forward rate will be equivalent to the spot rate, 1 plus the inflation rate in the home currency, 1 plus the inflation in the foreign currency. Then the other one was the interest rate parity. For the interest rate parity, we see that the key consideration in this case is the interest. How does the interest rate of a country can be used to determine the forward rate or forward exchange rate? And you see that in that case, the key consideration is the interest. And this is how you forecast. The formula is the same, that the forward rate, you take the spot rate, 1 plus the interest rate in the home currency, 1 plus the interest rate in the foreign currency. Yeah, the formula might look the same, but not the same. Here we are factoring in the inflation. So inflation is the key consideration. Under the interest rate parity, it's all about the interest. And then also there was another theory known as the international Fisher effect. And for the international Fisher effect assumes that the inflation and the interest combined at equilibrium, they can also be used to determine the forward exchange rate. Whereby we had said that S1 is the forward rate, SO is the spot rate. Good. So you just need to explain that and you get those your marks. Part B of the question. Part B of the question. JOHNMARK Limited is a company based in France. So the company is based in France. So that means if the company is based in France, so home is France. Yeah, France, they use the euros. So euro. So this one will be the home currency. But yeah, JOHNMARK Limited is a company based in France where euro is widely used. So in this case, we use euros. The company has recently imported raw material. We have imported. So if you have imported, that means we expect to pay. So here we are hedging the payment. Yeah, has recently imported raw material from USA and has been invoiced in US dollars. So that means foreign is the United States of America, whereby they'll be using the USD. So now this is the foreign currency. So home is France, therefore the euro will be the home currency. Foreign is USA, they'll be using the US dollars. Good. So I told that JOHNMARK Limited, a company based in France, where euro is widely used. The company has recently imported raw material from USA and has been invoiced for US dollar to 40,000 payable in 3 months' time. So we expect to pay in 3 months' time, and we expect to pay to 40 US dollars. In addition, the company has exported finished good. So in this case, if we have exported, so that means we're also expecting to receive. So in this case, also, we are hedging the receipt. Now, whenever you are using the same currency to pay and to receive, you can do what we call the net off. Yeah, you can offset or you can net off. So that in addition, the company has exported finished good to the United States of America and Australia. So also we exported to USA as well as to Australia. The customer in USA has been invoiced USD, that is 69,000 US dollars, payable in 3 months' time. So that means we can net off. So how much the amount payable? So how much will be the amount payable? So you can net off for America. So because here we have amount payable in 3 months. So we expect to pay to 40,000 USD. But also from the same country, we have exported and we expected to receive 69 USD. So you can offset against the amount receivable in 3 months' time, of which we expect to receive an amount of 69 USD. So that means the net payable, because in this case, payables are more than what we are receiving. So in this case, we'll be having net payable. This is what we call net off. Yeah, so you get an amount of 171,000 USD. So if the amount we expected to receive was more than what we are paying, we could have gotten net receivable. So in this case, we have the net payable. Since we expect to pay to 40,000, and then from the same currency, we expect to receive 69. So in that case, it's around you can net off. So now we have the amount of net payables. Then you are told that. Payable in 3 months, and Australian customer has been invoiced Australian dollar 395 payable in 4 months' time. Yeah, we had also exported to Australia. So the amount receivable from Australia, so we'll be using Australian dollar. So we expect to receive 395,000. This is Australian dollars. Australian dollars 4 months from now. The amount we expect to pay, we are paying in the next 3 months. Good. The current spot and forward exchange rate are given as follows. So now the rates are more important to me. So we have US dollar to 1 euro. So USDs to 1 euro. So in this case, I'm interested with the spot rate. And then we expect to pay also in 3 months' time, whereby here we have 0.9830 to 1.9850. Then 3 months' time is 0.9520, 0.9525. The first one here is when you are hedging the payments. When you are hedging the payments, first of all, you ask yourself, is our quote direct or indirect? Is our quote direct or indirect? Home is euro. So that means euro is the home currency. And in this case, these are USD. So these are USD to 1 euro. So that means euro is our home currency. Being our home currency, therefore, this one is an indirect quote. When the home currency is the commodity, that's an indirect quote. And then we are making a payment. So that means we'll be using the bid price. This was the bid. This was the ask. You see that bid is the minimum price. The higher amount, that is the ask. So in this case, it's an indirect quote. And you are hedging the payment, we'll be using the bid price. So this is what to use. What about, also remember, we're expecting to receive from our customer in Australia. Now let's go. You have the currency in Australia. We have euro into 1 Australian dollar. So let me just use that. So here we'll be using bid. That one we have agreed. What about in euros? Sorry, in Australian dollars. So we have euro is equivalent to 1 Australian dollar. So also here, my focus, spot rate, as well as 4 months. Remember what we are paying in Australia, we expect to pay in 4 months. So 4 months. So here we have spot rate is 1.8890 to 1.8920. I'm just copying what you have in your question paper. 4 months is 1.9510, 1.9540. This is bid. This is ask. Bid will always be the minimum price. And now the other question is, remember home, we're in France, whereby euro is the home currency. That means we expected to receive from Australian customer. So Australia now in this case, what is the commodity? Now in this case, these are euros to 1 Australian dollars. So the one, that's what you call the commodity. So in this case, the foreign currency is the commodity because home is in France, where euro is the home currency. So in this case, therefore, the commodity is a foreign currency. So the commodity is a foreign currency. Therefore, this is what we call a direct quote. A direct quote is where the foreign currency is the commodity. So this is a direct quote. And then remember, we are hedging receipts. This is the amount receivable. So we are hedging the receipts. So if you are hedging the receipts, this is a direct quote, and you are hedging receipts. Direct quote, and you expected to receive. Also, in this case, we'll use the bid price. We'll also use the bid price. Also, in this case, we use the bid price. Good. So now I hope you have a good foundation. Now with a good foundation, now we can be able to answer the question. So what is the question? Now before we go to the question, we thought that now we are done with exchange rate. Then you have the current money market interest rate per annum is given as follows. Here's an up here. I want us to start on hedging payments. When you are hedging the payment, remember you see that what are steps followed when hedging the payment? You borrow ROCO. So you borrow ROCO. So you borrow ROCO. This is home. Home we borrow. Then we invest foreign. So here we invest or you deposit, or you rent. Simple. When you are hedging the payment, we see that you borrow ROCO. So how much is the borrowing rate for euro? How much is the borrowing rate for euro? A borrowing rate for euro, that is in France. We are borrowing home. So that means the borrowing rate for France is 13%, but note that this 13% is per annum. You expect to pay in 3 months' time, so 3/12. Then we say that you invest or you deposit in the foreign currency. So that means you rent or you deposit or invest in the foreign currency. In this case, it's USA. So how much is the lending rate in USA? Lending rate in USA, we have is 10%. But note that the 10%, that is per annum, we expect to pay in 3 months' time, so it's 3/12. So this is what is 2.5%. What about the first one? About the first one. So the first one you get is 3.25. 3.25%. Hope you're somewhere. Then also remember the also hedging a receivable. We expect to receive some amount from our Australian customer. So this one we are hedging receivable. So how do we hedge receipts? You see that for receipt, you borrow the amount in the foreign currency. So when you're hedging receipts, let me write for you here. Hedging receipts. Home is in France. And in France, we are using the euro. Foreign is Australia. Australia, they use Australian dollars. So now this is hedging the receipts. You see that when hedging the receipts, you borrow the amount in the foreign currency. So you borrow foreign. So here you borrow foreign. You borrow foreign. Now, give me the borrowing rate in Australia. You borrow foreign, so Australian. So how much is the borrowing rate? So the borrowing rate is 16%, correct? But this is per annum. Remember, we expect to receive in 4 months' time, 4/12. 4/12. So how much is that? That is 4/12. You get 5.33%. So when you're having the receipts, we are saying that we borrow foreign, and then we invest home, or we deposit home, or we rent home. So home, we rent. Home, we rent. So how much is the lending rate in France? Lending rate in France. So in France, it's 11.5%. And then we expect to receive in 4 months' time, 4/12. 4/12. So what do we get? We get 3.83. 3.83%. 3.83%. Now, I think from now, even if now I leave you this question to do, you can be able to solve it, but let's just do it. Now the question was required. Show how the company can hedge its foreign exchange exposure using, number one, is the forward market cover. The first strategy is the forward market cover. How do you use the forward market cover? So for the forward market cover, we use the forward rate. We use the forward rate. So now let's start with the first one. Hedging payment. Let's start with the hedging payment. When you're hedging the payment, now this is the payment. Remember, we're expecting to pay. This is what we're paying. We're expecting to receive from euro. So these are the payment. We are paying. So in this case, this is the forward rate at 3 months. And you have said that we use the bid price. So 3 months time, if you are paying, so the rate will be 0.9520. And those were USD to 1 euro. We are hedging the payments. Now, these were the details for the payment. These were the details for the receipt you are receiving from the Australian customer. But in this case, we're expecting to pay to our customer in USA. And in that case, since we want the forward rate, that means we use the rate after 3 months. That's what we call the forward rate. So therefore, it's 0.9520. We are using the bid price is equals to €1. And then how much are we expecting to pay? This is the amount we're expecting to pay. 171,000 USD. So how much will we pay in euros? How much will we pay in euros? How much will we pay in euros? It's an amount of 179. You're getting 179,622 euros. Then the other one, also we are still using the forward market, hedging receipts from Australia customer. So also for Australia, in 4 months' time, Australian dollars. So these are details for when you're hedging the receipts. 4 months' time, we are still using the bid price. We are still using the bid price, of which the rate will be 1.9510. Those are euros, is equivalent to $1 So how much are we expecting to receive? Now, this is what we are expecting to receive in 4 months' time. We expect to receive an amount of 395,000 Australian dollars. So how much will we receive in euros? How much will we going to receive? So we are getting an amount of 770,645 euros. Good. So that's the first strategy. Then number 2, based on the question, number 2, we have to use money market cover. Money market cover or money market hedge. So for money market hedge, and now let's start with which one is easier? Hedging payments. Hedging payment. Can you pay attention here? Because this is where most of the students get lost. In order to say that when you're hedging the payment, step number 1, we say that you borrow ROCO. Then from there, and then what borrowing ROCO? This what actually these are rate to use. You borrow ROCO. So that means what you use for this rate is the amount that are in euros. Simple. Then we invest foreign. So we invest foreign. Our foreign currency in this case is USD. When you are changing, when you're determining the present value of the future value of euros, this is the rate to use. When you're determining the present of the future value of USD, this is the rate to use. And what does it mean? So you're saying that step number 1, you borrow ROCO. And how do you determine how much do you borrow? So remember, if for you to borrow ROCO, there is amount you expect to pay. And the amount we expect to pay were in US dollars. So the amount we expected to pay were in US dollars. So you convert that US dollar to determine how much is the present value. So are you getting that? So we are borrowing ROCO, but not in our home currency. First of all, you determine the present value using the foreign currency. So this means you determine the present value of the foreign currency using its rates. And to determine the present value, so that present value, you take the future value, 1 plus r raised to power negative n, whereby you see that n will always be 1 because we have converted annual rate to 3 months. Future value, this is the amount we expect to pay in 3 months. So this is what we call the future value, which is 171,000 US dollars. Note that this is US dollars. So when you're determining the present value, you use the rate of USD, which is 2.5. So therefore, it is 1 plus R, 0.025 raised to power negative 1. Raised to power negative 1. What do you get? What do you get? I'm getting an amount of 166,829 USD. So if we need to borrow now, this is the amount we need to borrow currently. This is the present value. So 166,829 USD. Then the next step was that when you borrow that amount, you convert them now into home currency. Remember, the USD is in the foreign currency. You convert the amount into home currency. So step number 2, you convert the USD, that's the foreign currency, to home currency, which is euros. You convert the foreign currency into home currency, which is euro, at spot rate. At spot rate. You convert them at spot rate. Now, USD against euro, this is the spot rate. And remember, we are using the bid price. So it's equivalent to 0.9830 USD is equivalent to 1 euro. Is equivalent to 1 euro. What about 166,829 USD will be equivalent to how much in euros? So just cross multiply. You cross multiply. And what are we having? So if you convert that amount, you get an amount of 169,714 euros. 714 euros. So that was the second step. Then the third step, you hold this amount to maturity. You hold this amount to maturity. So correct, hold to maturity. So since this is the present value, so it will mature in 3 months. So you determine the future value. So to determine the future value, you take the present value, 1 plus r raised to power n. Now the present value, this is what we need now to invest. An amount of 169,714. You hold it to maturity. You invest it to maturity. Remember, these are euros. These are euros. So 1 plus r. Now the r to use, remember these are euros. The r to use is the rate for euros. These are the rate for euros. At the rate for euros, it was 3.25. So 0.0325 raised to power n. N will always be 1. When you're getting the present value, it's negative. When you're getting the future value, it's positive. So how much do you get? If you do that, I'm getting an amount of 175 to 30 euros. So now that concept of borrowing and raising ROCO is to help you to determine which rate to use. It's to help you to determine which rate to use. But now when determining here the present value of the future value, what will determine which rate to use is the currency. For example, in this case, the amount we are borrowing, this amount of 171. This 171 was in USD. So we use the rate of USD, and that's what we have done, 2.5. When you're holding this amount to maturity, this 169,714, these are euros. So you use the euro rate. And the euro rate here we have is 3.25. Good. And I think we are done with that. We are done with hedging payments. So also, remember, we are also hedging another receipts. So hedging receipts. Hedging receipts. And actually, these one are well explained in my notes. Well explained in my notes. If you don't have the notes, there's a number attached there under the link. So now, how do you hedge the receipts? I'll take you back to the how do you hedge receipts? Is that when hedging receipt, you borrow the amount in the foreign currency. You borrow foreign. Here is the amount receivable. So you borrow foreign. Foreign was Australia, and this was the borrowing rate. So this one we are borrowing. You borrow foreign, then you convert that amount into home currency at spot rate, and then you invest home. So, and home is euro. So this was the investment. So this is lending or investment rate. We had already done that. Now, when you are hedging the receipts, you will see that number one, you borrow the amount in the foreign currency. So you borrow foreign. Once you borrow that amount, you convert that amount, the second step, you convert that amount into home currency at spot rate. And then step number three, you hold that amount to maturity. That means you deposit. You deposit the amount in home bank account to maturity. So you deposit or invest that amount in home deposit account to maturity. Good. So you deposit home or invest home, but you borrow foreign. Good. So this amount we're expecting to receive in 4 months, 395. So the first step, you're saying that what you do, you borrow the amount in foreign currency, using borrowing rate of that currency. You borrow the amount in foreign currency. So remember, the amount we need to receive is 395 Australian dollars. So if you have to borrow now, how much is its present value? So what you do, determine the present value. Present value will take future value, 1 plus r raised to power negative n. Future value, the amount you expect to receive is 395. So we'll take 395,000, 1 plus r, 1 plus r. So how much is our r? So in this case, we are borrowing using the foreign currency. So this is what we are borrowing. We are borrowing using the foreign currency. The rate is 5.33, 0.0533, raised to power negative 1. Raised to power negative 1. So how much is that? So give me that amount. You are getting an amount of 375. Yeah, 375,000 Australian dollars. So if you are to borrow now, the amount you need to borrow is 375,000. That's its present value. Then the next step, you convert the borrowed amount. You convert the borrowed amount into home currency. Into home currency at spot rate. Good. You convert the borrowed amount into home currency at spot rate. So we are talking about Australian dollars. Now, this is our spot rate. This is our spot rate. And for the spot rate, remember, we are using the bid price. So 1.8890, these were euros, is equivalent to 1 Australian dollars. So you want to convert the borrowed amount into home currency at spot rate. So what I have done, this is a euro against the USD, and we have the spot rate. And remember, in this case, we are using the bid price. So since we are using the bid price, so this is the rate, 1.8890, 1 Australian dollar. What about 375,000 Australian dollars to be equivalent to how much in euros? So you multiply. How much is that? And in that case, you are getting an amount of 708,375 euros. 708,375 euros. Then lastly, you deposit the amount into home bank or into home deposit account, to maturity. Yeah, you hold it to maturity or you invest it to maturity. So that means you have converted that amount into home currency at spot rate. So that's what we call the current amount. Then you invest that amount or hold that amount to maturity, that in 4 months. So that means we need to determine how much will be the value after 4 months. So to get the future value, you take the present value, 1 plus r raised power n. The present value, this is what we're depositing now, or we're investing now, 708, 375, 1 plus. So we are depositing. So this is the deposit rate. The deposit rating of the investment. So the investment rate is 3.83. So you add 0.0383 raised power 1. So upon maturity, if you invest this now, and you will be earning an interest of 3.83%, how much will be the value upon maturity? That means after 4 months. So how much will be the value after 4 months? In that case, you'll get an amount of 735,505 euros. 505 euros. Good. So I think now that's well and clear. So kindly, if you have not gone through the other part on triangular arbitrage, also done more illustration on foreign exchange market, as well as on done more illustration on how to hedge the receipts. So this class was more focused on hedging the payment. So kindly make sure you review the rest. So in case of any query, this is my contact here. And if you have found the content useful, kindly remember to subscribe, and then you turn on your notification button. Good. So we're going to that's enough now. We are good to go.